We're talking about Oblivion, a game that was assumed to be a remake that was assumed to be made or being made via FTC records that were not carefully withheld.
Yeah, well, they had to be released,
Yeah.
and people saw that Virtuous was working on an
Right.
Oblivion Remaster, which was weird at the time because there was a mod being developed called Skyblivion by fans.
But it's not any. But you would say it's. Would you say it's weirder now? Any weirder
Yes.
now that it's
Well,
actually kind of real, even though it's not real.
There are levels to this, right? Like, how many times has Skyrim been released? Like, I can't count it right now, but it's probably like 10 times.
Yeah.
Almost 10 times, 6, at least a half dozen, right? How many times has Oblivion been re-released? Like,
Well,
I guess technically twice, because it came to 360 and PC, and then came to PS3 with, I think, the Game of the Year edition a year later. So that's been it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that game was critically acclaimed. People really liked it. But the problem was that Skyrim came out, and that game took the fuck off to the point where like everything Bethesda had made before was almost forgotten about. Not even forgotten about. It was just like such a huge player base compared to Oblivion, which was successful in its own right, but not anything compared to what we got from Skyrim.
And continues.
Yes,
which Skyrim continues to be.
And now, like a couple years ago, those documents got released that a Oblivion remake is being developed, which is cool, but it feels like it's 10 years too late.
Right.
Like, where was that Oblivion remake? You know, like, it would have made a lot of sense for that Oblivion remaster to hit after Skyrim's success, you know? Like, when the Xbox One came out, around that time. But instead it was just Skyrim re-release. So re-release it on Xbox One, and then they released it on Switch, and then they did a version for Series X and PS5, and then they did probably on your phone you can play Skyrim. I actually don't know if you can play it on your phone, but probably you can. Who cares? I'd never played that way. And now, after all these years, we're getting it, but there is a modding team developing Skyblivion, and I get it, right? Like, Bethesda can't make, I mean, Bethesda, I guess, technically can make money off of Skyblivion, because in order to play Skyblivion, you need to own Oblivion and Skyrim.
Do you have to own both?
I believe you have to own both, because, or maybe just Skyrim, but you have to own one of those games in order to play it. I think you do have to own both, because I think you need Oblivion in order to import the voiceover into. So with Skyblivion, they can't use any assets from Oblivion in that game. Or in that mod.
In theory, you could play Skyblivion, but it would just have no voice acting.
Well, but they this is last I checked, but they developed like a mod that basically imports the Oblivion dialogue.
Okay.
So anyway, we're coming to this because Oblivion, this remake, has been rumored to shadow drop for, I feel like, this entire year, basically. Yes. They've been like saying, people have been saying, including, you know, Jeff Grubb, who does our news show, has been saying this Oblivion remake is going to drop any day now. Which also I think is weird, because as we talked about, The Elder Scrolls V was one of the biggest games of all time. There's hype around it, but there's no marketing. Like, if it's just going to get released, it'll get released, and there'll be some ads for it, and it'll be like, it's out now. But that also kind of breaks my brain. Like, I know Todd Howard likes to he used to say that he liked to give as little lead time from announcement to release. Not the case anymore.
Wait a minute, what about Elder Scrolls 6?
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not anymore, because Elder Scrolls 6 was announced forever ago, and it's not out yet. And Starfield was announced like 5 years before. Yes. I think Starfield was announced like 6 years before it came
Weren't they
out.
announced at the same time? Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield?
Yeah, they were both announced back to back. But with Fallout 4, that was announced a couple months before it came out. Fallout 76, that was announced. Or that was announced a couple months before it came out. And Todd said he liked to do that because he So
this is the extreme to that. He's not even going to say anything. He's going to cough, and then he's going to cough on the button that makes it go live. It's like, oh.
But that's why it's so weird to me, because I feel like with a release like this, and the excitement around it, maybe that's why they don't need to do a traditional PR campaign. But I feel like they could build hype for it that way. And like right now, the issue that we're kind of running into, right, is like, there are details leaked about this remake, right? It's going to be developed by Virtuous, which pretty sure that's the case because their
Their
website
site has been
leaked it.
nuked.
Uh,
I mean, you can't even go to the site right now.
yeah,
Just
it got 404.
403 or whatever.
But there's like what people have pulled from that is like it's going to have revamped combat. Not combat.
I made a list. Souls-like blocking.
Like what the does that mean? You know, like what does that mean in context? And these are questions that like PR could clear up.
And also, I mean, to be clear, this information did come from a tweet.
It did, yeah.
Along with those screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
But like considering how much information people have seemed to have already known, it's like we can assume that these things are probably par for the course, including enhanced reactions.
Which, what does that mean? Like enhanced combat reactions? Like if
I mean, before in that game, it was just
they just kind of
no reaction.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Stealth icons. That's the one I have no idea what.
Is that like? I think it's like over their head where they can like kind of see. You know, like how games do that, where if you're getting near an enemy and they have like a little thing over their head, a meter that.
But Skyrim didn't do that.
No. It didn't. Well, they had the eye, right? That like.
Well, before we get into all this though, there is one thing that I want to address with you.
Okay.
As a hardcore Oblivion fan, someone who has done a retrospective review on Oblivion, which is great, and you've also done a video on Skyblivion.
Yes.
We talk about all these new features and all these things that they've kind of hinted at, but like, what does this? And also, they're not calling it a remake; it is being branded as a remaster.
Yeah.
Which at this point doesn't even make sense anymore because like Metroid Prime was considered a remaster, but they remade all those assets.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
I mean,
where do
if
you know,
those
and controls and all that jazz.
If those images that were leaked are in fact true,
those are remakes.
And if it's being remade in Unreal Engine 5,
it's not a
I
remix.
Don't understand how it would be considered a remaster. I don't know. That's semantics. Doesn't matter.
I know, but the one thing I want to ask you is what, like all the weirdness aside from there being already something in development to play it, what does this remaster need to be?
It needs to be bad. It needs to be bad. That's the thing with Oblivion. Oblivion was earth-shattering for me when it came out, right? Like, I had never played anything like that. I didn't play Morrowind. I'd heard of Morrowind, and it seemed cool, but those load times were eternal. It was very... I don't know, I think I was just too young to really get into Morrowind at the time. And I played Oblivion, and it blew my mind. I was like, I didn't know games could be like this.
There's something really small, like when I first played that game, where it's like, I could leave an item here, and it'll just be there forever.
It'll be there, yeah. Unless your game starts to slow down, you have to clear the cache, and you have to hold A.
It was like I could drop a coin on this grass and like come back 100 hours later,
and that coin
will be there. It's like,
yeah.
It sounds so, I don't know, but it still sounds magical to me.
It's
like,
things like that, which blew me away. But as I said, Oblivion's bad. Like
you said, it's held together with
the combat sucks.
Yeah.
I think they had about 4 voice actors for a cast of 250 or something like that. It looks like dog shit.
It did when it came out. That's important to note. Like it looked weird when it came out.
It looked awkward when it came out. The leveling is interesting but busted. It is. I mean, I showed you this morning. There are straight up flub voice lines in the game of people reading a line, stopping, going, "Sorry, I have to do that again," and then rereading it. So this game is bad, right? And I think that's part of the charm for me. And I know people talk about like that Bethesda jank. There's like kind of a nostalgic feel to it.
There's a different thing with Oblivion because it's not like the game's buggy. The game has this weird jankiness, but like there's blemishes.
There is a charm.
There's like charm to, only using 4 voice actors for everyone, and you hear 2 people talking to each other, and it's the same person exchanging dialogue.
And I think that's what worries me about the idea of a remake is like if you make Oblivion feel like a modern experience, I don't think it has that charm to it. And that's what kind of worries me the most about the idea of a remake. Like I said, because of this weird shadow drop, we officially know nothing, right? Like obviously that stuff got leaked. Could be wrong, could be talking out of my ass here. But I feel like for Oblivion to be Oblivion, it needs to be broken in a way. And like there are things that I hope that will be kept intact. Like I imagine they're not re-recording all of the dialogue, especially considering some of the cast they had. Like they had Sir Patrick Stewart
that's right.
voiced the Emperor.
Yeah.
Sean Bean voiced pretty much the main character in the game. That's all I remember for big names. But like, also like the dialogue is so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single character gives you their entire life story when you talk to them.
You never ask for them.
Like, hi, I'm Boromir. I was born here, and my father taught me how to run the stables. And these stables plowing home. I'll be here forever. Would you like to buy a horse? And it's just like, yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the stupidest writing ever.
It's like walked in to buy a beer.
But I love it.
It's like, what's going on? There's also little things that it's hard to imagine. Like, there's a part of it where I tend to think remasters and stuff are kind of a necessary evil, if you will, to be able to make sure like things can live on and stand the test of time. The weird thing about this game is that it is available to play on PC.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, it runs good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's totally functionable, even without mods. The only place where there's a struggle is consoles. So it's like, there isn't really a means to play it on a console.
Yeah, I mean, it is backwards compatible. I think you can get it on Xbox, right? But not really PlayStation. And I don't even think you'd want to, because I don't know if you remember this, but like Bethesda games on PlayStation were even more buggy. Like Skyrim deleted saves after a while, right? And like I think they had a similar issue with Oblivion.
My how I played Oblivion and Skyrim were both on a PS3, and it was bad. It was like not a good experience. And I guess like the main thing that you were talking about is like the spirit, like the spirit of a thing, not just like the Bethesda jank. I'm talking about going in a third person and watching that jump animation and just like kind of glide through the air. It seems like such a complex game of like many issues and systems that are like all kind of broken in their own weird, charming, connective way that fixing one of them feels like an impossible task to fix all of them. They all kind of like domino effect into each other that make that experience.
And look, I hope I'm, you know, like maybe they'll come out with this remake and it'll fix all those issues and it'll still be a great game, and I'll spend hundreds of hours. I'll probably spend hundreds of hours anyway playing it. But like, I don't know. I just have so much trouble imagining Oblivion being good in the way that people want a game to be good. You know,
I imagine this is just going to be a different experience.